Hi, everyone. This is Saurabh here, and welcome to the Passionately Curious podcast. We are continuing with our interview series, and as some of you might be joining new, just telling you that we interview people who are pursuing independent careers, whether they are creatives, coaches, freelancers, solopreneurs, business owners, and doing interesting things. And I'm very excited to have our guest today, Heidi McKee, who is an independent freelancer and bootstrapper, and she's originally from France. Heidi, if I'm not
Well,
mistaken.
technically, I'm from the US, but I spent 5 years in France after the US.
All right. And she travels across countries she's traveled. She's in India right now. And so I just thought it would be very interesting to go through her journey. So, Heidi, very warm welcome to this podcast. And
Thanks.
uh, would you like just introduce yourself to the audience and tell about yourself?
Yeah. Well, like you said, my name's Heidi. I'm originally American. I was in the US all my life until after my undergraduate, and then I started traveling more. And I went to France for 4 years, and then Spain for a few years, and then now I'm in India for a few months. And yeah, I'm a freelance. I specialize in marketing, basically for French companies that are going international. So that's a little bit what I'm currently doing.
Awesome, awesome. So, like Heidi, when I met you a few weeks back, the most exciting or interesting part for me was that you are living a life that many people dream of living, which is they are like a lot of people want to be location independent, they want to be living in different countries, but many are stuck in that same company, same city, same country kind of thing. So, uh, tell us a bit about how it is right now with this traveling. How are you finding this life on on the move for you? If you can share a bit about that.
Yeah. Well, it's always super been my biggest dream to be able to travel. And
Hmm.
I mean, I stayed in the US till I was 21 and I always wanted to get out and travel, but I just wasn't really able to financially. And
Hmm.
so now it's true, it's super nice. Like I just feel super lucky that I'm able to do this. And it's super great being able to travel and experience new cultures and learn new things but like I'm slightly different in the sense I think that a lot of people they need comfort and I need adventure as much as other people need comfort.
Hmm.
And so it just really, I guess, fits my personality and my need for a lot of change and adventure. And so for me personally, it's a life that I really like,
Hmm.
and that I feel like I need. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I hope that I can more settle down one day, but I don't know. Maybe it's just my personality to need a lot of change in my life.
Hmm.
So that's kind of, I guess, where that comes from.
Okay, that's awesome. And so let's talk about this more, like comfort versus adventure. And you must be having peers so who chose comfort over adventure, right? And so like what attracts you towards this adventure part, or what attracts you towards the change part in contrast to the other people who choose comfort?
Yeah, well, I think it's half just a personality thing and we should just accept who we are, but it's
Mm-hmm.
half just a passion that I have that I love learning and seeing new things and new ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Um a lot of my life actually I was raised in a very I guess a limited way of thinking in a closed environment. And and then I started seeing that like, oh, people think differently and all these ways and all these limited beliefs that I had, it wasn't necessarily true for others. And so I just got really curious about how like especially culturally, I believed everything I believed because my culture told me that. And so it
Mm-hmm.
made me really curious, well, what are other cultures telling other people and what's true? And it made me just really curious to want to go travel and learn these different perspectives so that I could pick like a viewpoint for myself. And it only really is possible by getting exposure to new ideas. And
Yeah,
I think that's really where that passion kind of stems from.
that's that's interesting. That's actually increasing my curiosity even more. So I'll frame the next question this way: that a lot of people choose to live with their limited beliefs, right? They grow up in a certain culture and they start believing, and it is hard work to overcome that, and it
Yeah.
is hard work to like uh, say that there might be other beliefs, or I might
Mm,
want to evolve. So
mm.
tell us a bit about that phase. Where did it started to change for you, and what triggered it? Was it a particular person, a book, or what, any event, or is it like you have always been like that? So if you can take us to what started that change from your beliefs, existing beliefs, to new beliefs.
Yeah, okay. So basically, yeah, I think it was just a way of thinking, like, just to be, I guess, a little bit more transparent so the context makes a little bit more sense.
Mm-hmm,
Like, yeah, was raised in a very strict, extreme conservative religious family. Like, and so borderline cultish, but just very extreme. Like, I didn't know anyone that had different belief systems from me. I went to a private Christian school. I only knew like people that thought in the way that I did, but in an extreme, like an extreme way. It wasn't just maybe normal religion as we many people have encountered it, but I was really in an extreme situation. And so, for some reason, I just naturally had kind of a questioning mind. I would see some things that I was like, oh, this doesn't really make sense. And everyone would just kind of tell me, like, oh, you just have to believe it and you have to have faith. But then, me, for some reason, I didn't feel good about accepting this answer because I just envisioned somebody else on the other side of the world and their own parents telling them a false, crazy belief, and their own parents telling them just to believe and have faith. So I
mm-hmm,
thought if I wanted like freedom for this person, or if that had to make sense like globally, then I had to make it have sense for myself.
mm-hmm,
And so yeah, I really went into the questions. Like, I didn't let myself fear questions like
mm-hmm,
many people around me would, or like I just like decided to value truth and to
mm-hmm,
look for it, even if you feel like, oh no, is this okay that I'm asking these questions? Is this okay that I'm doubting what maybe somebody told me that I trust, or what's supposed to be good or right? I just decided that asking questions could never be wrong. And so I kind of let myself ask those questions. And then I think it was just my ability to put myself in other people's shoes. Like, I went to after I went to a public university, and I kind of encountered more people that think differently than I did. And it's
mm-hmm,
like I saw everything that I believed in my circle made perfect sense. But the second I stepped out of that and I tried to explain that to someone outside my circle, like, I could see how it's like, how could I convince anybody that that's true when the whole context had changed? And so I
mm-hmm.
started questioning my own beliefs. Okay, do I just believe this because of the context in which I was raised, or is it actually true? So just by asking questions, I was led down that journey, I guess.
Mhm, mhm,
And that's really, yeah, it's and after asking questions, it led me to just so much of a more beautiful reality than what I was living in before. And that's
mhm,
why I just continue to ask these questions and continue to search, because I've just seen time and time again, yeah, just all the limits that people say about reality. And and I just saw every step my life was just more beautiful by opening the possibilities of the reality in which that I lived.
mhm.
And so I think deep down that's still what I'm looking for. Um, and then I just simply ask life, it's like if I'm curious about something, I'm like, well, I don't know if it's true, like if it's possible, or I don't know if it's true. So I'm just gonna ask. I'm gonna have a little experience and or experiment and test it out and see if it's true or if it's possible. And so I guess I just ask. So instead of asking myself, I also can ask, let's say, like the universe or potential or whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
Just have the question and I ask if it's possible.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. So a follow-up question on that is, when you're saying this is like really like this is interesting, the questioning attitude, the scientific attitude toward things. So can you like tell a few questions, like one or two questions to put this more in context? Like what kind of question helped you transition, or if there is any one particular question in particular that had a significant impact? So what kind of questions helped you in overcoming? Like what were these questions?
Yeah, I think the two was like if I doubted something and if the reason only worked contextual contextually and not universally, then yeah, I would ask myself that question. It's like, okay, is this just like a contextual truth or more of a universal truth? But in the way that, yeah, that really helped me was just envisioning somebody with a different context than me, and just envisioning if somebody was using the same arguments but in a different context, then would it make sense? Like if somebody like, my community was telling me just to trust and have faith and don't doubt.
Hmm.
Well, if this is a way to live, then I applied that to someone else. And no, this is absolutely not, like, it wouldn't be good if I'm envisioning a different context of, I don't know, some community asking someone to do something horrible, and
Hmm.
they're like, you have to because, a higher power told you to,
Yeah.
and you have to have faith. Then I would say, no, it doesn't work in her context, so it can't work in my context. And so almost
Hmm.
depersonalizing it helps a little bit, because when it's too personal, you really feel like, yeah, you feel like you can't question it or get out of that, because it's too much, you know society or people that you're close to that affect you, or it's linked to your fears. But when
Hmm.
you say, if somebody else were in that situation, what would I advise them to do, or what would be best for them to do, and then saying, okay, well, if it's best for them to do that, then it's best for me to
Hmm.
do that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So Heidi, my next question, I'm just taking a segue now,
Mm.
is, so in India, parents are very much involved, families very much involved in your career decisions, in what you
Yeah.
study and what you do. Uh, what was your journey like, and were your friends and family supportive in your career decisions, and if they understood what you strive to do, and how did it go, if you can share whatever you are comfortable sharing?
Yeah, yeah, in terms of this, more, I guess, life decisions, like,
Mhm.
because yeah, it was a big deal for me to take my path and be like, I'm leaving the country, I'm moving abroad. And also, like, I'm leaving the belief system that you really want me to believe, and I'm
Mhm.
leaving that. This was
Mhm.
really hard for my family, but
Mhm.
I decided that it was actually better for everybody involved, actually, if I take my journey. Because either it's like, okay, I don't believe in this system anymore, so either I could lie to my parents and say I still believe but I actually don't, which would
Mhm.
actually in turn hurt our relationship more than being honest. Like, now it's like, at least I can say that I'm true to
Mhm.
myself and to them, and that I feel like in the depth of thing that's better for our relationship, because they really know me, and
Mhm.
it's not a lie. I think lying would actually do worse than for the relationship, even though you're lying to try to make the relationship better.
Yeah.
And then it's more so just like, well, then it's their choice whether they choose to love me and accept me for who I am. And
Mhm.
I'm not responsible, for that. I'm responsible for looking for truth and being honest for me personally with my
Mhm,
values. And
mhm,
I decided that's up to my parents to either accept that. And many parents, they'll be upset about it. It'll be tough. But many parents, they end up choosing to love you and accept you for who you are just because you're their child and they love you. Um,
mhm,
so that was one thing. And then, yeah, in terms of making decision, like, yeah, I just have this strong devotion to my path and in a dreamy way, like, wouldn't it be so sad if it's like this is my one life? If
mhm,
I am doing it for everybody else for what they want me to do, I mean, and it's the same situation, like, in this way of thinking, like, what would I tell someone else to do in my same position? Like,
mhm,
would I tell them, like, yeah, sacrifice your life and your dreams to do what other people around you want you to do? No, I would never tell them that. So how can I do that for myself? And if
mhm.
we want to live in like a better world, then it's like for those other people, we have to do it for our own selves.
Yeah,
And so yeah, I decided to stay loyal to my path because that's what I would want others to do. So therefore, I was also responsible to do it myself, I guess.
yeah. That is that is such a good insight that being true to yourself helps you in being true to everyone else, and just like lying to maintain the relationship is not going to help maintain the relationship in any way. And I think that's also very indicative of your clarity of mind and clarity of, like, the way you said that I believe in my path. So that clarity at a young age and being able to pursue what makes sense to you, that is like quite remarkable in, like, in my opinion.
And in the end, I know if I hadn't taken my path, I would always be slightly bitter. Like,
Hmm.
we could say like, "Oh, yeah, if I decided I didn't travel just because, I knew my parents would be sad or upset, then I
Hmm.
would stay at home," but I would always be slightly bitter against them because I knew they stood between me and the life that I wanted. And
Hmm.
I didn't want that bitterness for me nor my family.
Hmm.
So I felt like it was important for me to stay true to my path, and now I have only but love for my family. Like, I love my family. Be because I have nothing against them, It's like
Hmm.
the only thing that's left is the relationship. I don't if I felt like, like I had sacrificed so much then I would feel slightly bitter against them, and I don't know if that would even be good for our relationship.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, just going one step further, uh, many times it's not somebody else who stops us in pursuing our path, but we ourselves make up excuses. Like there is a self doubt or procrastination or getting like comfortable in whatever it is. And have you faced that self doubt, that voice of reluctance, of delaying going on your path? And like, have you faced that tussle with yourself? And if you have, then what helped you in overcoming that and moving forward in your path?
Yeah, I think, for example, when I first started my business, which was kind of like necessary for me to be able to have the lifestyle that I currently have.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so basically, yeah, with my business, starting my business, basically, I knew like I always wanted to travel, and so I started applying for jobs to try to and this was way back before COVID. This was like 5 years ago. I was looking for
Hmm.
jobs and I was looking for somebody that would let me work remotely at least like a few weeks a month or something like that. And everyone told me no. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to try it myself. And I feel like the fact that I gave it just like a limited time, I wasn't like, oh, I'm doing this no matter what. It was more so, again, I was asking the universe. I was just like, is it possible for me to start something myself? I wasn't like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to force this, I'm going to make it happen. I just
Hmm.
said, okay, I'm going to give myself 3 months and I'm going to ask if this is
Hmm.
possible. I'm going to try it, I'm going to give it my best shot. And if I don't succeed, to find like some clients in 3 months, then I just
Mhm,
decide that maybe this isn't the right direction. And so I feel like one thing that kind of would have stopped me at the beginning was kind of anxiety. But the fact that I gave it like 3 months, I was like, okay, if it's still bad after 3 months, then I'll let myself reconsider it. And it helped me with the daily anxiety because I
mhm,
just wouldn't let myself think about it because I was like, no,
mhm,
I know I'm okay for 3 months. Like I had
mhm,
worked a bit, I'd saved up some money, so I knew I could devote 3 months to this. And so I
mhm,
was like, no, I decided I'm not going to worry about it until after this short period of time, and then I can
mhm,
reconsider. And so
mhm,
I think that just giving it a timeline, like, kind of helped calm my anxiety um, with it. Um, so I think that was the main kind of barrier. Was that
mhm.
your
Yeah,
main question?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 definitely. And that like gives uh just putting that timeline, like, okay, 3 months
Yeah.
is what I'm going to do, and in 3 months I need to find clients who are willing to give me what I want. And if that doesn't work, then yes, I'll take whatever comes my way. And it helps in it definitely helps in becoming more focused towards towards the work that needs to be done rather than getting worried and getting anxious about everything.
Yeah, true. Yeah, maybe if I left just an open, like, ending and I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna launch this thing and I'm gonna try it,"
Mhm,
then, yeah, maybe I would have been less maybe, like, yeah, determined because it could just drag on
mhm,
or, um and then, yeah, I would always have slight anxiety because you would be like, "Oh, no, how long is it gonna be like this? How long could this last?" Or
mhm.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So Heidi, like when you were going through this transition, this journey, uh,
Mhm.
were you like alone in that journey, or did you have peers who had similar goals and you could share your journey with each other? Or was it like, okay, everybody else is looking for a job and looking to get settled while I am here looking for a remote something for traveling and adventure and all that? So what was it like for you, and how, like if it was alone or if it had peers, so how did it affect the entire journey?
Yeah, I did have at the time I was in France, and I did have one person in particularly who I was close to who was an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm,
And so, yeah, this person did really inspire me. And he showed me, like, yeah, more things are possible, and like, yeah, you can try it. And I saw with him, and I didn't naturally come from this kind of like, yes, you can do it, it's possible. Because yeah, my parents tend to be more secure and safe and fear and oh, be careful. And so
mm-hmm,
I naturally kind of had more of this out
mm-hmm,
mindset. But it's true, when I met this person, I was inspired because he was like, yes, it's possible. Yes, you can do it. And so it helped me kind of being like, I wasn't sure. So I just said, okay, well, I'm going to see if it's possible. When I started it, I wasn't sure. I wasn't like, yes, I can do everything. I did not have this kind of confidence. So I was like,
mm-hmm,
I'll just try it and see. Um, but yeah, he like this person that inspired me, he had a different kind of mindset on business. Like my business was really to give me the life that I wanted. It
mm-hmm,
wasn't because I was passionate about this business and I wanted to devote myself to the business, which was kind of his style of entrepreneurship. And it's something that I see often in the entrepreneurial realm. It's kind of more rare when people launch their own projects. Normally, I feel like they're sacrificing and devoting everything to this project. And they're like sacrificing their well-being, they're working so many hours, they're stressing out, and they're devoting their whole life to their business. When me, I
mm-hmm,
really just wanted to create my business to give me the life that I wanted, so it wasn't like my end goal. So
mm-hmm,
this is something that I find more rarely.
mm-hmm. Yeah. And did you have any mentors or any books or maybe courses or something that helped you like do this better? Anything that you would recommend people to read or? access
Like in terms of marketing or
in terms of shifting to an independent, like starting your business and like doing this kind of work?
yeah, it's like, yeah, I mean, so many books, but at this time when I started, honestly, it wasn't I mean, it was more so after I started my business that I had time to actually read and
Mm-hmm.
learn more about business. But exactly when I was starting, uh no, it was more so just yeah, just yeah, no, it wasn't technically like things that I had read that had given me the confidence to be able to do that. It was just thought processes and decisions and definitely people that were inspiring to me.
Mm-hmm. And would you name such people, like who inspired you in that journey?
Yeah, it was more so just people that I had met in France that thought differently than me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had gotten into this group of like, yeah, some people that were actually like studying psychology, and this was
Mm-hmm.
very interesting to just see like yeah it encouraged you to question more, and so I found myself kind of in this community of people that thought about psychology a lot and talked about psychology, and so I just kind of learned the limits of the brain and how we
Mm-hmm.
can have like we can do exercises in life to challenge those or to grow those, and so I was able to kind of do that with this experiment with my business.
Mm-hmm.
um
Mm-hmm.
so yeah.
Okay. Okay. So like, just curious. So,
Mm,
what I see in your story is this going to France from the United States played a big role in your transition. And
mhm.
what I'm curious about is like what triggered that? Like, did you go to France because of this adventure mindset, or was it something else that what took you to France in the first place?
Yeah, so I mean, I had done some traveling just during the summers.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the US, it's a bit different because you start working when you're 16, like
Mm-hmm.
part-time jobs. And so I had
Mm-hmm.
always had part-time jobs, and I would just save literally all my money and only put it basically towards travel. And so I
Mm-hmm.
was exposed to, different cultures that were interesting. Like my first travels, like I went to Panama, I had been to Africa, and that's actually why in my undergraduate degree I took a minor of French, and so I was already learning French and I was ready to leave the US, and I wasn't ready to just go live in a country that was so different, and so I decided,
Mm-hmm.
oh well, I was ready to leave the US, so I decided, oh well, I'll go to France just because I already had a basis of the language. And
Mm-hmm.
then I did go there, and I just found it very intriguing to get to know the culture deeply in a way that, yeah, there was so many just worldviews that were different. So it
Mm-hmm.
really was interesting for me the first move.
Yeah. Yeah. What I see, like the thread that I can see as you tell about this journey, is the thread of possibility. Like how you are at every step moving forward from what you know to what you don't know, and to gain new experiences, and to just trusting the universe or trusting whatever is to come. And that is leading to your growth through your journey. Like, is that something that resonates with you too?
Yeah, definitely. And it's just asking the little questions. It's not, or, and taking the little steps. Nothing
Mm-hmm.
felt like a huge, scary thing that was like risking everything. Like, I worked super hard, like from 16 till I was an undergraduate, which let me have some money to travel on the side. So it was never like I was putting everything and I risked everything or anything like that. It was just
Mm-hmm.
like I just knew on the daily basis, one step to another, and I feel like I do have a natural desire to grow and learn, and I feel like we all do. Like, who likes stagnating? Like, you get
Mm-hmm.
boring, like, we all we all want to be stepping towards something. And so I just found that really interesting, and I got passionate about that. And even in terms of business, like at the beginning when I started my business, like I was like, I don't know, like I'm not good. Like I hadn't had hardly any, I just had one internship in what I was starting my business in. And so I was like, well, I'll just start by saying that I'll translate their blog articles from French to English, which is like
Mm-hmm.
basically at the beginning I would just use Google Translate and then edit the English. And
Mm-hmm.
like just starting really basically. So but it's just like learning slowly every day and letting it build up. And I think sometimes a lot of entrepreneurs, they put a lot of pressure on themselves, like, oh, I'm going to grow this big thing and make it big and crazy, and they put so much pressure on themselves that they have to go so fast.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I think it was important that, yeah, it's like we do need some security. And I think this is also sometimes things that entrepreneurs can like forget. It's like sometimes they throw out all their security, but like
Mm-hmm.
we're human. We do need some security. And so I would take care of that as I was, and that gave me a foundation to help me learn and grow, and just by taking some steps. So I guess
Mm-hmm.
for advice, like, yeah, if someone's like, yeah, trying to, take a step out of their job and turn towards being independent, yeah, it could either be like, I don't know, like, yeah, we need some, financial stability, and I'm not sure getting rid of that completely and just launching into something is always the right decision. Sometimes it is. Sometimes I could just say, like for instance, you could give yourself a 3-month thing. You could ask your
Mm-hmm.
job for like, hey, could I have a 3-month sabbatical? And then you try it in 3 months. Or you could, usually if you're employed by somebody, you could quit your job, try something, save up some money, try something for 3 months. If it works, if it works. If it doesn't, then you can get a new job. Or just, also taking care of, like, yeah, having some security, and then just taking little steps. Like another thing that I was going to say was,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I mean, when I first launched my business, it was really hard because, yeah, I mean, I was like reaching out to French companies in French with my strong like American accent, and I'm just like calling them up or sending them cold emails and trying to get clients. And yeah, for like, literally got no clients in like 2 months, and I'm trying
Mm-hmm.
every day. But why I didn't get discouraged was just like, I knew it was only 3 months, so it was okay. First off, second off, like if I had a call with a potential client, and if they told me no, like I could just at least identify in my head one thing that I could just do better. So I think that was important, instead of being like, oh no, I failed this client, they didn't take me, I'm worthless. Like I wouldn't focus on that. And I think this is really important, to not let, failures become your identity, but just
Mm-hmm.
using them as a thing to learn from. So basically every time I would call a client, I would just think of one way that I could get better. And I could always think of something. And I think that if I couldn't think of a way to get better, I could feel like hopeless, because it's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, I just did my best and I still didn't get it. But every
Mm-hmm.
time it's just like I use them as an opportunity to get just a little bit better, and then that builds up over time.
Yeah. 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 Like it's amazing what you're saying. Seth Godin, a guy who I follow a lot, like he has helped me in my work, and he mentioned the same thing. He would send proposals to, at that time in the 80s. He used to mail them, like physical mail, and he would keep getting rejections, and he got like 800 rejections in a year. And
Mm,
all he did with every rejection was reply with a thank you and just say what did he learn from that particular rejection, and just kept going.
mm,
and
interesting.
and what you are saying is something very similar, right? And that is that is so interesting, like taking that no not as a no, like you're not good and you should just leave, or taking it as okay, not yet, what do I need to make it better so that the next person would find it like to pursue,
Mm,
right? So it's
mm,
that mindset, I think a lot of it is coming. What I am seeing is just having that mindset of possibility, that mindset of growth, that mindset of learning is something that has taken you through those tough, like, periods of rejection, of not having any output for a lot of work, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's like so much of the time, like let's say you see a new client and you're like, "Oh, this is a perfect client. I need this
Mhm,
client." Instead of
mhm,
viewing them as the ends, sometimes
mhm,
it's good to actually view them as a means because like our life is long in the sense like yeah, it's like instead of being like, "Oh, so disappointed I didn't get that client." It's like, "No, they're not the ultimate goal." Like, maybe
mhm,
it's more about what you become rather than like getting too attached to a specific opportunity. And this too, like in terms of being an independent, it's super important to focus on what you become. And at the beginning of my business, it was something that I was super focused on. And I was just like, I don't care like how expensive, like at the beginning, I didn't care about how expensive like I was charging my clients. Like I didn't
mhm,
think about money because I knew like I just had to become the very best. And if I were the best, then I would
mhm,
always have job security. And so
mhm,
I really focused more on, okay, learning more, becoming more, because that was also a thing. Even after I launched my company and I had a few clients, the thing that would stress me out the most was like, oh no, what if I lose this client? Then, like, oh, are things going to be okay financially? But then I knew like my job security relied on me just being like really being the best. And so it's like, okay, what do I have to to do to learn and become really great? And I knew that once I was really great, it would sell automatically. Like my
mhm,
services, I would just come in with so much confidence and be like, yes, I know how to take your startup from this point A to point B.
mhm,
And so yeah, at the beginning of the stages, it was really less about like if I were working with a client, yes, I would try to do great for them, but I would also use that opportunity as much as I could to learn as much as possible for myself, because if one day I lose this client, then it's like the knowledge is more important than the actual service I was doing, maybe even for that client.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so that was a like I think really important when you're an independent. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And one more thing that really stood out for me is the thing that you mentioned, that initially when you were getting clients, you were doing, like, you're just using, translating stuff or doing small things, but you were moving forward in building client relations, like building your business, like getting
Mm.
clients on board. And a lot of times we feel that no, until we become really good at, like, something great, we can't really start off, we can't really go and
Yeah.
start. So, like, just putting yourself in that position, okay, this is what I can do and this is what you need, so I'll just do it. And that is not what you'll do throughout your life. Like,
Forever.
you are not
Mhm.
translating French to English now, but it, like, at least it started somewhere. Like, it was important to start rather than to wait and then say, once I'm doing this, then I will start my business.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. I think it's so important. Like me too, I had so much self-doubt, like, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not good, like at the
uh,
beginning.
mhm,
But yeah, I think it's like to something that really inspires me is like in a world with billions of people, there
mhm,
are unlimited opportunities and we just need to find it. And this belief is so much different. Like if I say, "Oh, I don't know if the opportunity exists or not," then maybe everything you do is for nothing and you would quit. But if you come with a mindset of like, no, I know, and for instance, me in the French market, I knew there was need for companies that needed English and that needed to launch internationally. And so it was just a question of finding the opportunity. So it felt
mhm,
different than is it possible or not? It was more so it's possible. And
mhm,
then how do I find these people? So
mhm,
yeah, yeah, I think the quote, I don't know how the quote goes exactly, like in a world full of opportunities, I don't even know the quote, but that's the
Yeah, yeah,
idea.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, so what I want to ask you is, if someone is uh, struggling with fear, is struggling with the comfort zone, they're not happy with their life right
Mm,
now or the direction it is taking, but it's too scary to take action to like to change and to like seek adventure instead of the comfort. So
mm,
like what can they do to change to a mindset of possibility? And you can reframe this question and you can just answer it the way you want. Basically, I want to know, like, I can see a strong mindset of possibility and growth and learning
mm,
in you.
mm,
And
mm.
so what I'm getting to is, how can one, is this something by birth, or is this something that gets developed? And how did you develop it? And how can someone else start developing it? How can someone start moving towards the journey?
Hmm. That's interesting. Yeah, this um yeah, I think it's just like I don't know why. I don't know why I couldn't I mean, I couldn't accept it until at least I tried.
Hmm.
And then so I think it's really just trying that's important. Like and in a safe way, I just feel like a lot of times people maybe do two extremes like or all or nothing thinking, but it's like kind of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like we're still human, like we
Hmm.
shouldn't completely say, oh, either you're boring with your job or you're this risk taker entrepreneur. It's like
Hmm.
no, it's like yeah, I understand. It's like we need to take care of our needs and our security, but I think it's important, like ask, try, like um like do a true experience or experiment with life in which you ask life like is this possible for me, but like if you're not even giving life the opportunity to help you get lucky, then you're never going to get lucky, you know.
Hmm.
And so it doesn't need to be like this big scary thing. It's just putting things in perspective. It's like even if you like decide like okay, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to try my new thing, it's like in the reality of things like you can find a new job. Like don't get so caught up in thinking like oh this certain job that I have, it's like if I don't have it, like I'm going to be like ruined. It's like no, you got this job because you're capable and there's 5 other billion jobs behind it if you need to. So
Hmm.
I think it's just thinking in the reality of things. And for me too, it helped like, okay, in worst case scenario, it's actually good to think about the worst case scenario because usually it's not that bad. Like it's
Hmm.
like okay, in worst case scenario, you quit your job, you try to start a new thing for a few months, you fail and you get another job. It's like that's
Yeah.
usually the worst case scenario. So it's like, well, and when you look at it from that perspective, it's like, well, you actually don't have a lot to lose and you might as well go and try and see if like something can happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And it, like, I think the thing that stops us is we seek certainty in possibility, right? We kind of want things, like, because we get so used to the things, the way things are, that any adventurous uh, path, we are like seeking, no, tell me exactly what's going to happen and only then I will get out of my house. And that's not how possibility works, right? You have to be vulnerable and you have to allow things to happen to you, allow you to do things that you have not done earlier. And I think
Mm,
that kind of holds us back, where we are like too much wanting the surety. Like we would ask 100 questions. No,
mhm,
what if that happens? And what if that happens? And what if, like, and
mhm.
that is just our mind trying to stop us from like moving forward and growing in our life. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's also like a question of perception, you know? It's like usually when people are in a job and they're scared to move, you're like, "Oh no, that would be so bad if I tried my business and it failed." When
Hmm.
in reality, like the way I kind of look at my life is like, what a shame. Like, how sad would it be that like I have this one life and I devote
Mhm,
it to something that I'm not happy with and I don't like. It's like
mhm,
this for me is more of my biggest fear rather than failing. It's like, well, what a shame. Like if I never try
mhm.
anything and if I'm not happy with my life and I live life and I remember like I have few days like this anymore, but used to I would have so many days when it's like you just get up and you live the day to get the time over with. Like you're trying to end the day. And it's like
Yeah.
for me now the it's like this is so sad. Like from this perspective, it's like what? Like you're just trying to pass time so you can die or what? Like it's super
Mhm,
sad, I feel like. So it's like in perspective of things, like it's our life. Like at the end of it, it's like, yeah, do we want to just spend it doing something that we don't enjoy? I find that like way more sad and would give me more anxiety than trying something out, maybe.
mhm. Yeah, that's an amazing, like, way, amazing thought. Like, do you want to live your life or do you want to just wait until, like, you're just passing time until you die? And, like, why not take action in this one and only life that you have, right? And it has been an amazing conversation, Heidi, and
Mm,
there's so much to learn from the conversation itself. Uh, I so a few things before we wrap up.
mm.
One, if somebody wants to reach you for guidance, for coaching, for mentorship, for anything, how do they reach you on social media or email? If you can just give some, if you want them to reach you, and you can.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that would be nice to help someone I don't know in their journey.
Mm,
But yeah, I haven't really thought about it. They could, I guess they could contact me on LinkedIn and just
mhm,
be sure that they start. I get a lot of requests on LinkedIn, so I'm not able
mhm,
to check all of them, but just be
mhm.
sure that you start like with, I heard your podcast, and then I'll
Mhm.
know that it came from this
Awesome.
podcast and I'll be able to respond to it.
Awesome. I will also share a few details where they can reach out through me so that I can
Mm,
forward it to you in case they want to.
yeah.
And I would really recommend. I don't know if I'm in a place where I can recommend, but I would
Mm,
really like to be coached by you. And I think a lot of people who would have listened to this discussion, this conversation, would want to be coached in a mindset of possibility, of taking action, of like making the most out of our life. And
mm,
you are a living example of that. Like you are not someone who is just giving like just like do it and all that. You have done it
mm,
and you have
mm,
taken that action and you have moved into this uncertain areas and then work through that. So that is something that I think a lot of people might want to have. And yeah,
so
thank you so
nice.
much, Heidi, for participating in this. And it's been an amazing, amazing experience talking to you, to know your journey. And there were so many learnings in this conversation for me. Uh, One, the 3 months thing, like put a timeline to it. And if it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world. You can get a job and you can come back again to fight again. Uh, a rejection is not a rejection, it's just an opportunity to learn how you can make things better. Don't take yourself too seriously. Like whatever you're getting, just move on forward and don't get bogged down with your limited beliefs. And you have one life, right? And if you're not true to yourself, then what are you doing? So like so many learnings, I'm just listing out a few that I can recall with my bad memory, but yeah, it was amazing, amazing. How
You're so
any parting words
kind.
to the audience, Heidi, and then we'll wrap up.
Oh, no, I guess I don't have any big parting words actually, but thank you so, so much for having me. Like for me too, this was a really nice opportunity just to be able to share my story and
Yeah,
hopefully it can be a good opportunity to link me to like some other people in the same environment or on their journey because it's really passionating seeing people that are yeah that are trying to stay true to their journey. So be great to connect.
Amazing, amazing. So, everyone, I will share a few links whereby you can get in touch with Heidi either through LinkedIn or through other ways. And do let me know through email or something. How did you find this conversation? For me personally, it was really exciting and really insightful. And I'll see you guys the next time. And Heidi, maybe we'll have another conversation pretty soon and go deeper into the stuff.
Yeah,
All right.
that'd be
Thank you
great.
so
Thanks
much.
so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Bye bye.
Bye.